Right. Gonna get everything all. Let's see here. I'm going to be next live. Oh yeah. All right. We're just chatting today. It's gonna be a good one today. All right. Let's get in. Get everything ready. Let's see. I'm gonna open this Word. Past weeks. Week 1, week 2. All right. I'm gonna open this with Word as well. All right. Minimize that. All right. Cool. It's going to be fantastic. Quick little refresh. All right. We're gonna kind of get everything up. Discord. Let's see. Announcements. At everyone. Minimize that. All right, I'm back. Whew, sorry about that. Oh man. Well then. All right. It's this week's week 3 developer notes for the Universe of Pandora's Price. Thank you for turning in. I appreciate it. I try to do this every Sunday night ish. Usually people are off work, people are done with church. They should be back from church services and whatnot. And I value you guys' time to be able to take a little bit of time out of your day to come and check us out. My social medias are below, K-Dogs Gaming. But for the sake of this stream, my name is Kelvin Smith. I'm the community manager that represents Pandora's Price. My job is to help personify the vision of the creator and founder of the Pandora's Price universe franchise, Tyler Sheff, and I do my best to at least put it out. Does it always work? Oh, speak of the devil. It's the founder himself. That is awesome. I'm really glad. And you know what? For those who also join, y'all have the luxury of having the creator and founder himself in the chat. So, kudos to that. So, that's going to be awesome. So, as people show up, they ask questions, they, drop in, drop out, who knows? But we're pretty much, what I like to do is I do last week's updates, next week's updates to kind of keep people up to date, and some extra things to kind of let people know what's going on in terms of the Pandora's franchise. I think I opened up the wrong notes for last week. Hold real quick. Let me pop in and get the right notes so that we can go over those promptly. 1, 3, week 2. All right, this general week 2. All right, I think this is what I want. This one right here. Sorry about that. All right, cool. There we go. I like to keep it fair for those who pay for Pandora's Price as a whole. By at least just going over the general. Do I have them broken up in tiers? Absolutely. We have 5 tiers, starting with our civilian rank, which is pretty much $3 donation. Then it goes to Explorer. Then it goes to Operator. Then it goes to Singer. And then it goes to Ascended. Each rank has got its perks and pros that you can enjoy if you pay for said ranks. But without further ado, let's get into the intro before we talk about anything. Yo, welcome back. Of course. Again, thank you for turning to the stream. We'll probably just start talking about the notes as people show up. We'll double back, catch people up who join a little bit later, just to kind of lay down some groundwork. Again, if you want to know anything Pandora's Price related, hit us up on Patreon. Everything that you get here, everything you get on TikTok, everything you get on YouTube, always under the Patreon. So please, we're trying to increase our presence out into the world, into the community that is TTRPGs, RPGs, war games, novels, recently announced card game, and the ladder of short stories that are within the universe. Try to give something for everybody so they can kind of get to enjoy whatever aspect they like, and maybe they might dabble in a little bit of the other, dabble in over there, you never know. So with that, we'll drop in to start our last week's notes, week 2 development. Of course, these notes were found on our Patreon page, so even for our free people who don't even pay anything, we make these notes available to everybody so that everyone gets an opportunity to see what's going on for the franchise. Of course, if you notice, there is also other higher notes that I specifically tagged them out. I think week 3's notes just dropped 51 minutes ago, so if you want to go on to Patreon, drop in and see what's going on there, you totally can. But let's go ahead and start with week 3. Or week 2, pardon me, not week 3. So, So pretty much, development continues across the Pandora's Price universe, and I'm reading directly from the notes, so I'm not cutting anything out, I'm not leaving information out unless it's related to higher tier subscriptions, but I'm just basically giving you a general rundown of what's going on. So, Pandora's Price universe is progressing. War game systems is steadily advancing, and the TTRPG equipment framework and continue editing of the novels in early chapters. This week also marks the beginning of a new project with the Pandora's franchise that will reveal publicly for the first time in this report. Now, just to kind of get through that, we last week announced that we're going to be doing the last pillar, that we're already been laying the framework and kind of bouncing ideas off each other, called the card game. So pretty much, if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, this is just our card game for the Pandora's universe. How that looks is that within our universe, everything synergizes together. No one thing is stepping on another one's foot entirely. We're just letting it benefit off of each other, like give and take type of aspect. For example, the war games are pretty much every battlefield, every conflict, every war, every campaign in terms of a conflict that's in the Pandora's universe is played through the war game. If you want to follow the story and how it works, play the tabletop. For those who are familiar with D&D, it's just kind of basically an amalgamation of stories that have happened within the D&D universe. Pretty much we're doing the same thing, but better. Have to give us the bonus points here. You know, I got to represent us and what we got going on. The card game is basically, think of it as where the war game gives you good solid lore about each individual faction and army as a whole sense. The card game will give you like a cherry on top of what the war game provides. It gives you a more detailed understanding of that particular faction that card game is focused on. For example, the Merrick's game. The Merrick's game is an army in the war game. The Merrick's game is a deck in the card game. The war game will give you a brief summary of all the units, all the individuals that operate within it. I mean, of course, there's some name units as well for the commanders and the sub-commanders. And those kind of just give you like the lay of the land of what's going on within the Merrick's game. The card game, on the hand, will give you, micro lore and faction structures, absolutely. But the card game will give you a fill in the blanks where the war game didn't fill in the blanks. Like, you'll get to know Cole, who is the commander for the Merrick's games, a little bit better. But do not worry. Love you too, buddy. Where the war game and the lore from the card game kind of pick up, then you can kind of look into the novels, because the first novel, The King of Sand, follows some instances where the Merrick's game is talked about. I mean, Cole is one of the characters that happen in the first book. So where you might get introduced to Cole in the novels, and then you want to know more. So then you might dabble into the war game, you might dabble into card game, and then you kind of find all these good little red herrings that the creator and founder loves to lay around for people to find, and then you kind of combine them all together to make this fantastic lore document. Of course, will there be future developments to maybe make like a conglomerate of one for people to have so they don't have to go through all the different stuff? Maybe. But that's not up for me to decide. That's up for the founder to decide if he wants to do it that way. But as of right now, it kind of gives a little bit of love for everybody around the room. Moving on to the next thing. And then you can expect that pretty much throughout the entire universe as we continue forward. Let's look at one moment real quick. Let me be right back here. Well then, never mind. I guess that person doesn't want to talk. Whatever. So, let's jump back into it. Going back into week two's updates, war game development. So the primary focus of this week was mathematical stress testing of the infantry mannequin system, which is a core feature within the war game. Okay, hold on real quick. Calling back again. person calls again, they're just going to have to be sad that I'm not going to answer it because they keep calling, playing phone tag with me, and no one likes playing phone tag. But I digress. Moving on to the war games development. Hold on, I forgot to do this real quick. Hold on, let me. I need to go into. I gotta go into Discord on my Discord because you never know. As we talk about updates to the systems. Alright, let me, I gotta go and, where's my Word document? There it is. And how, copy the clipboard. Sorry, I'm just making an update post for, alright. You never know. People might want to show up and drop in. Let me think one more place. Oh yeah, let me go to Patreon because I need to be a good sponsor and make sure that I send the note out as far as I can, reach. Live stream for week 3 dev notes. Come join us on Twitch. Alright. Make sure I give everyone the free chance to at least show up. If they show up, great. If they don't, no harm, no foul. I won't cry. Alright. So I digress. Kind of getting all that put out so that everyone has a chance to show up. Where else? Yeah, no. This stuff will end up on. We're trying something new with our videos and recordings and stuff. Hopefully, I figure out how to become a video producer somehow. Maybe I don't. Who knows? All right. Back to the development notes from last week. So, like I said, the mannequin. It's a cool feature that we want to allow people to be able to make their own units within the wargame setting. For those who are familiar with Warhammer and basically Plastic Crack, for those who are aware of it, yeah, you are not playing the game unless you're ready to pay bukus of dollars to play. I personally have not played any of the Warhammer franchise tabletop war games, but the founder and creator, Tyler Sheff, currently in the chat as Frozen Music, has spent way too much time and is way too comfortable with how their practices are, and quite frankly wants nothing to do with it in the regard of Plastic Crack. Loves the lore, loves the story, but it's just so expensive to keep up with that stuff. So he designed a system that allows people to be able to play the game without being broke. Imagine someone that actually cares about your money, cares about your time. And the first thing, the forefront, is to make sure that to you guys that your time and money is valuable to him just as much as you value our time and money as well. So he decided to design a system that allowed to basically mimic that all the way. Yeah. Yep. 40K is the name. It's the amount you spend before you ask yourself, what am I doing? Yeah. And I'm sure that synergizes a lot of people who are in that community. So I'm hoping that, for those who are interested in the war game and stuff, that they take the opportunity to come check it out. That and more to come on with that as week 3's notes kind of dive into our first beginning and steps for community involvement. But let me get through the rest of these week 2 notes real quick. The 3 infantry units archetypes that were tested were ranged, melee, and hybrid. Testing confirmed that each type of unit performs within expected ranges relative to point cost when attacking strength and weaknesses under optimal battlefield conditions. So pretty much we're just trying to make sure everything works like it's supposed to before we try to put it into some form of test. Outside of that, hold on. Let me respond to this text. Let's see now. All right, hold on. With the telling a friend who really likes the universe and has been keeping up with it, and I'm gonna be using you, Mr. Frozen Music, to kind of draw some people in. All right, let's see here. Try to throw some uh, throw some candy out there for some people to bite on it. All right, let's see. Because the funny thing is that I had a lot of people this week ask, like, "Oh, is the creator gonna be in your stream today? Is the creator gonna be in your stream?" And I said, "I don't know if he's gonna be there, but he might be there." And then maybe you might get fortunate enough to be able to ask him some questions. So hey, if the creator is in my stream and he's there, I mean, you're more than welcome to ask him for whatever he wants, whatever you want to know about. These results. Yes, the optimal results. Yes, that the creator put into the chat for those who are familiar with the outcomes when it comes to war games. Absolutely. So let's see here. So now, still talking about the war game here. General mechanic updates. While working on unit mechanics, several areas of the core rules required clarification. Reaction rules refined to clarify how they interact with turn timing. Combat action terminology received clear definitions, and early drafting began for possible alternative game modes. Again, these are notes from last week on week 2, so week three's notes kind of build on and move on past these. So, but I'd like to reiterate what happened from the week prior. Well, week prior, yes, so that people who are new and showing up get a chance to hear how the progress is developed. Um, Moving on to the next category, unit type development. Unit type rules continue to expand as the Battlefield framework develops. Current progress. Infantry is complete. Ground vehicles are conceptual and in development, and mounts are newly implemented. Again, notes that are for this week builds on these notes from last week, so this is just to catch people up on it. Um, Mounts were identified as an overlooked unit category during development and have now been integrated into the system. So be excited to be able to have mounts in our game, in the war game system. Upcoming war game milestones. So preparations are underway to release early development documents for community review and playtesting, which this is one of the big things that we're excited for. And in roughly like 2 weeks or so, we're going to be pushing infantry only into alpha testing. And pretty much we're going to just look for people to kind of go over our version of the BRB and our version of infantry mechanics and stuff and design their own infantry and maybe put them up against each other or in a war game setting and see how they like them. And we'll be hoping to get some feedback from that, because the only way that we make the game and check to make sure that it works well is to have people play it, because it only helps so much when there's only literally like 3 people playing the same game and we're all in our own minds. There's only so many times that we can do something before we like drive ourselves crazy. So, moving on to the next bullet point, development trading card game new project, which was what we released last week, that we wanted to bring in a card game into our system, which was the last pillar that we introduced last week. So, it's still early development, not much focus on it right now, but we want to let you know that we did dedicate some time into getting at least a skeletal draft of how the game operates or will operate as of right now. So for those who would be looking forward to playing the card games, tune in for more. As weeks develop and time moves on, we will shift our priority from the war game, the tabletop, to novels and the card game to kind of get them progress further so that we can keep the ball rolling and we can keep showing progress throughout the different pillars within the community. So, as far as the card game is concerned, core alpha draft rules are completed. Like I said, skeletal draft was pretty much developed, so we at least know how to start mixing the concrete to lay the foundation. Card layout concepts established, so we kind of know how the card layout is going to sit right now. We came up with a few rough draft ideas of how we were thinking that we want the cards to be laid out as. of course, falls into the mixing of concrete and the card creation tooling under review. And we've came up with a couple ideas how we want the card game to kind of work. Again, in terms of tooling for them, it just depends on when we finally get into that phase, how we truly will execute them. And then we initially played test using the Marks Gang and the Syndicate factions as well. Again, testing them to kind of see idea and practicality. More to follow with the card game, so if you're really interested in the card game, stay tuned for more. Now, as for developments within the tabletop, the TTRPG, the Foundry section for the Bow and Crossbows has been completed and is currently undergoing testing. So, testing in the sense that we need to make sure that the math is mathing and that it's not broken and it's not too lax in terms of optimal performance in current and optimal conditions. Upcoming working includes finalizing the Foundry's crafting system, expanding general equipment for the market stall, and completing the market stall's ranged weapon section, which kind of works hand in hand with our two favorite little documents, the workshop and the Foundry, as pretty much everything that's been created within Pandora's Price has a document, a source document to generate stuff for it. Of course, which in time will become available to everyone, both you and I, to be able to utilize. Because we want the whole universe to synergize with each other, and we don't want you to feel like, oh, they're making this stuff up. Nope. Everything we make within our systems has a source document tied to it, so that one day, once source document has become well furnished enough and it's actually perfect, we release it to you guys for you guys to be able to do the very same things that we do within our own universe. So, more to follow with that as well, as those are future developments. So stay tuned for all that kind of stuff. Also, the next heading would be player character sheets, which we wanted to design 2 types. One of them was going to be standard, really straightforward, simple, nothing too fancy. And the next one, the deluxe, which is the robust version, which is fancy and a whole bunch of extra stuff to help you along your way in your character creation process. Some people love to cut all the extra stuff out, whereas other people want to have all the fancy bells and whistles and pictures and colors all over the place. It just depends on what you would like. Me personally, I just wanted a document that would further allow me to document all the stuff I have within when I create a character. So I created the deluxe character sheet to allow for extra room to add in all that information. Whereas some people love to take notes in a notebook, so I made a standard sheet that is more compact, it's a lot smaller, and it's just pretty much highlights of everything, and for the people who love taking notes and write stuff down. So more to follow with that, as they were in development last week or the week prior, and progress continues on the novel manuscript, which still stands to chapters 4 through 10, drafted and formatted. Still in editing though, of course, for most of those. As for those who are on our Patreon page, see me release new chapters for the King of Sand that are coming out of editing and drafting, or coming out of editing from the founder, and get put out to you guys to kind of just read and enjoy them. More to come with that in this week's update. Upcoming content to look forward to. So there's this little thing that we like to do called Story Tuesday. Story Tuesday is usually a series of stories within the Pandora universe, which currently right now we're doing the Mirrodin story arc, which is 9 episodes. We're on episode 2 out of 9 as of right now, with episode 3 coming to release on Tuesday. So if you really thoroughly enjoy short stories and want to know some cool tidbits about things that happen in the Pandora's universe, tune in for Story Tuesday, which a lot of our stories either come from stories that have Pandora's Price-like aspects, and some of our other stories are conceptual in nature, and we just thought you would guys like to see how some of our early concepts of our stories were before a lot of them got absorbed into the universe wholeheartedly. So you just want to keep short story. They're not too long. Try to keep them under 1,000 words so that it's not too much to read on Patreon. You can kind of skim through them and get the idea of it. Pardon me. Whereas the whole document is really, really long, so I try to chop it up so that you guys can get the not necessarily highlights, but you can just take them in bite-sized chunks because you guys are busy. Your time is valuable, and we value your time very, very highly. So another thing that we like to do is lore drop Fridays, where we drop lore within the Pandora's Prize universe for you guys to enjoy. Week prior, well, this past Friday, the one that we dropped was the World War III story for Pandora's Prize. For those who've watched our introductory video, we basically kind of is part of that. And if you heard one section talk about World War III, this podcast kind of covers more on that. It kind of builds on that intro part for World War III. So if we're really interested in the idea of how the creator imaged World War III kicking off, turn into our podcast, which I think we're on Spotify. Don't quote me. I have to check to make sure that the application went through. Last time I checked, I think it did. But again, have to double check on that to make sure it did. But if it's not on Spotify, you definitely can find it on Patreon if you really want to listen to that podcast. Of course, there'll be more to follow. So, moving on to what was the end of last week's prior weeks two, kind of things we wanted people to pay attention to was for the war games, continued development of ground vehicles, unit mechanics, and finalizing infantry mannequin documentation for early playtesting. For the TTRPG, we wanted to expand the Marcus Law system and complete additional ranged weapon equipment sections. And then the novel, continue editing chapters 4 through 10. And for the card game, to prepare initial card design prototypes for internal playtesting. So that kind of covers, in a summary, week two in terms of how the franchise developed. Now, week three. Week three, I find to be very fantastic. So we're going to switch over here to my life so I can show you what it is that I'm looking over here on the screen that my eyeballs keep bobbing back and forth. Now, I read pretty much all the notes from week two here and basically transcribed it to you guys. So whatever's here, you can of course find it on our Patreon page, but I just wanted to take you a good look at how the general notes look right now, as week three general notes are really crispy. And I'm actually really proud of myself having, every week I'm always trying to find a way to better organize our notes so that we can release them out to you guys, so that you guys get the nice, clean, finished cut, not the raggedy, all over the place cut. So without further more, let's pull up week three's notes. As I've now fully adopted a color scheme for our notes so that you guys can follow through. So, bring this into focus to take out the other extra stuff. So, now, you're looking at pretty much summary of week three. And again, everything I'm going to talk about, I'm going to literally go into detail. And that's what I usually try to do whenever I talk about the week three stuff. I try to bring on a lot more, info dump, lack of better words, to kind of clarify and add into stuff. And this is pretty much overview summary. This is available to all our free subscribers, everyone in our community. So if you follow our page, you can see this. But if you want to know more within each one of these categories, like I said, there's higher tier developer notes that you can take a dabble in if you choose to subscribe at a higher tier for us. Totally optional. Don't have to, but these are available. This particular version is available to everybody. So let's jump into the overview here. So development across the Pandora's Prize universe, and I'm reading right here that you can literally see on screen. Development across the universe maintains a steady pace for the week, with the strongest movement happening in the wargame and the TTRPG system, which is 100% exciting because those are our two main pillars that we're trying to get to. They have the most development under the belt right now, and we want to make sure that those are ready to be able to push into the newest phase so we can start getting input on those, because we've been working a lot on those and want to make sure that we follow up on our word here. So narrative content is also continuing to move forward, helping keep the worlds active while the largest mechanical systems are refined for upcoming testing. What I'm referring to right there is those two systems, the wargame and the TTRPG, shifting into alpha phase here in about 2 weeks, give or take. We're trying to finish up some nuts and tighten some nuts and bolts between both those systems so that we can get them ready to be shipped off bloop, bloop, into phase 1 for alpha testing for both of those, which time frames on those to be determined. As of right now, look forward to those coming out. Current overall progress. This is something new that I wanted to introduce for the notes, is to give you guys a progress report on how things look in terms of completeness of each individual system. Now, if you notice, the novel is sitting at 55%. Now, that is up in the air because it just depends on how you look at the coin. Right now, think of it as 55% in terms of overall scope of the entire novel series. Well, not series, but book series, which would be The King of Sand. And 35% in terms of overall completeness, like this is done, ready to go. Oh, welcome for those who just turned into the stream. Really do appreciate you guys for dropping in. I'm Kelvin Smith. I'm the community manager for Pandora's Prices Universe. And I'm pretty much going over our Week 3 updates for Pandora's Price. Now, if you're new to my channel and you're new to our community, we're on Patreon, and pretty much I'm doing this to kind of give people an opportunity to know what's going on within the Pandora's franchise. So I really do appreciate you guys dropping in. For those, if you could be so kind to drop, what's up in the chat and stuff, so I can kind of know who's here, so that I can make sure I address those present properly. Also, if you're new to Pandora's Price, I can totally jump back, go back over Week 2's updates, and then continue into what you see right here is Week 3's updates, so that you can kind of get a good idea of what's going on. Of course, all of the updates that we do, I release on Patreon, free to everybody, so you don't even have to pay for these notes that you see right here in front of you, but they're free. Just follow us on Patreon, and I try to release them every Sunday, and every Sunday night, as of right now, I try to go over those notes, answer people's questions, try to give people a better understanding of what's going on that you don't really get here on the notes. And occasionally, sometimes, we'll get the creator in here who will, luckily, if anyone turns to the stream, answer people's questions directly to him. He's a very busy person, so I try not to bother him too much. He has a lot going on between developing the universe and, living life, because we all work. We all have families. We all have jobs to do. Some of us need to go to bed because it's bedtime. So I try to respect everybody's time as applicable. But if you're still in the stream, let me see here. I can pretty much go back and I can fast summarize these real quick. And if there's anything, Captain Jack Sparrow, what's up, man? Really do appreciate you dropping into the stream. How are you doing this evening? I hope you're doing well. I really do appreciate you dropping in, man. So, again, these ones right here that you see in front of you, these are our Week 2's summary notes for development in our franchise of Pandora's Price. Like I said, I'm the community manager that manages all this stuff. Oh, stuck on homework? Oh, yeah. Homework that's work. That's work outside of work. I am kind of glad that I'm definitely taking a step back from it. But that's awesome, man. I really do appreciate that you're taking the time to drop in here to the stream and check out what we got going on. So without further more, I'll just jump into these summary notes for Week 2, which would be the week prior. Not this past week, but the week prior to that. And then if you have any questions about what's going on, I'd be more than welcome to ask, please. I'll do my best to answer the questions, and any questions that I cannot ask, I will forward them over to the founder, creator of Pandora's Price to get you a better answer. Of course, you're always welcome to jump on our Patreon page to follow us there, which we do release a lot of free stuff for people who don't even want to pay for it to look at and kind of just go over themselves and mill about. And then you can comment, email us, hit up on some Discord, or drop here this is my personal stream channel, but that I dedicate to putting out a lot of information on Twitch about Pandora's Price. So projects across Pandora's Price, ranging from the TTRPG and the war game, have went through pretty much our main focus development. We've also, the week prior, we released our final pillar to our universe called the look at you spamming. Nightbot just said, no, here, I got you. Let's see here. Let's don't even do that, Nightbot. Well, it shuts you down, but you know, dropping in, I'm really glad. So, well, there you go. See, you spamming exclamation points totally got Nightbot to say no, bad. So Nightbot can be very strict sometimes in terms of spamming, so be very, very careful with that one. Yeah, totally. Well, it seems that you know him, so that's pretty awesome. Um, but let me go ahead and run down the summary notes while you guys have a fantastic catching up in the chat. So, as I was saying, the steady advancement remains with the war game and the TTRPG as framework continues as we continue editing for the novels and early chapters as well. Our main push is the TTRPG and the war game. Reasons being is because we want to get those to a point that we can get ready to push them into an alpha phase so that we can give them out to people to try and test out and give us valuable feedback so we can further develop the process, The primary focus this week for the war game, and this was week prior, so next week, this week's notes that just released about at 7 o'clock today will synergize and build onto these stuff. So the primary focus was developing the infantry's mannequin structure, which is pretty much this cool little feature that the creator designed to allow people to create their own units within the war game because, plastic crack kills. As the creator loves to say, 40K is not the name of the Warhammer franchise. 40K is how much you'll spend before you realize and that you're messing up. So, infantry unit archetypes was tested for range, melee, and hybrid. Testing confirmed for each unit type performed within expected range relative to point cost when attacking strengths and weaknesses under optimal battlefield conditions, which I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this message right here. Because, alright, let that be up there. Kind of give a hindsight right there. The results of those testings for those types of units, for those unit groups. General mechanic updates. Thanks for turning into the stream. If you're new here, we're just going over our weekly developments. This is not this past week, but the week prior's notes. And I'm trying to just go over them real quick. If you have any questions while I'm going over these, please let me know. Please let me ask. This stream tonight is kind of special because we have the founder with us today. So if you have questions for him directly, you can totally ask him in the chat. He's Frozen Usyk in the chat. So if you have any questions directly related to something, you need something clarified, or you want me to clarify something, of course, you have both of us here, and we're both here to kind of reach out to audiences, people, to kind of let them know that we exist in the universe. So, general mechanic updates, and this is talking about our war game, which is one of the pillars within our universe. The war game, while working on unit mechanics, several areas of core rules requirements required clarification. Reaction rules were refined to clarify how they interact with turn timing. Combat action terminology received clear definition. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. Everybody. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry that it's pretty much clocking you guys for spamming. Nightbot, leave them alone. I'm going to turn you off, Nightbot. I'm about to, let's see here. Timeout. Timeout, Nightbot. Yep, you stay timed out. All right. Nightbot has been timed out for 10 minutes, so you guys can go ahead and do whatever the heck it is you guys want to do. So, all right. not getting too far off, let's keep going over the updates. If you're turning into the stream now for the first time, hi, my name is Kevin Smith. I'm the community manager for the Pandora's Prize franchise, and I'm just going over the developer notes for the week prior, and then I will be covering this past week's updates. If you're new to our community, you can drop into our Pandora's Prize Patreon page if you want to get the latest updates. You want to get our older feed that we've had been posting. I think we've been on Patreon Live for about almost a month now, so if you want to know more, please drop in there. These notes that I'm reading are also on our Patreon page, so if you want to read these at a later time, or if you can't turn into a stream right now to watch them, please drop it there and pick those up. All right. And they are whiling out about Warhammer. So I'm going to keep going over these notes. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. So pretty much clarification, terminology, and possible alternative game modes was one of the couple of mechanics that we kind of drew over for general mechanics for the war game. Unit type developments. Still remains that infantry is the only completed section. Ground vehicles are in development, and mounts are a newly implemented thing within the war game franchise for Pandora's Prize. Further development on those will come later. They are identified as an overlooked unit category during development and have now been integrated into the system. So you can look forward to having mounts in our tabletop war game. All right, so preparations are underway for development documents for the community review and play testing of the war game, which we plan to kind of have the alpha phase for that in about 2-ish weeks. It all depends on how everything works, and as long as we tighten up some nuts and tighten some screws to make sure all that kind of is ready to go for whenever you guys ready to go, so you guys can play test it and have the best possible results that we can get back from you guys on the little surveys we're going to develop for those. One of the new projects that we recently released was the trading card game. It was a new thing, the last pillar. It was a 4-pillar system, the last pillar that we introduced for the entire franchise. So it's still in early draft phase, but a little bit to kind of cover on that. Core alpha draft rules completed, card layout concepts established, and the card creation 2 under review. So still early skeletal phase. We wanted to get the skeleton laid down so we kind of know what direction we want to go as we mix concrete before we lay the foundation permanently. Initial playtesting was used for the Merrick's Gang and the Porsche Syndicate faction, so kind of to see how everything washes out and works. Moving on to the TTRPG's side of things, which is the other pillar that will be shifting into alpha testing alongside the war game. Things that we were working on the week prior. Foundry section for bows and crossbows have been completed and is currently undergoing testing. Now, testing in the sense that as long as the math works for creation and that the updating of the systems are synergizing between the workshop and the player's scroll in terms of the market stall. Welcome to those who are just turning into the stream. Oh, wow. Thanks for the bits, man. I really do appreciate it. That's awesome, dude. That is fantastic. I really appreciate that. But thanks for turning to the stream. For those who are just joining in, I'm Kelvin Smith. I'm the community manager for Pandora's Prize franchise, and I'm going over the updates for our system so that transparency and that where we're exactly at in the development process for the franchise. This is a special stream because this stream, the creator and founder is actually live in the stream. So if you really have questions, you want some clarification on stuff, and may want to ask him questions directly, it's Frozen Usuk in the chat. So, don't be afraid to ask. If you want to know more about the Pandora's Prize universe and the franchise, we're on Patreon. We have free stuff for people to view, so you don't have to jump in and donate to get access to content. These very same notes right here are actually free and available to the entire public. So if you just want to get a brief summary of what's going on, you can just show up on our Patreon page and follow us and just stay tuned for more. But I'm going to keep going over the development notes, and then I will jump into last week's progress report. This is the week priors. This is something I like to do to kind of give people look down on what the last 2 weeks looked like before we jump into the new week stuff. TTRPG, and these notes are on our Patreon page, so if you missed the first little bit that I've gone over, you can always jump up there to look at those, or on my screen, just kind of read through them real quickly as I'm focusing now on the TTRPG development. So, upcoming works includes finalization the Foundry's crafting system, expanding general equipment for the market stall, and completing the market stall's range weapon section. So, real quick, the Foundry system. Foundry is one of two crafting systems within the Pandora's Price franchise. The other one is called the Workshop. Thank you for this description, man. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that a lot. Wow. That's awesome. 6 months in advance is crazy. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate that, Jack. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I do my very best to kind of just. Oh, Andrew, what's up, dude? Welcome back to the stream. I really do appreciate that you showed up. We're going over the next week developments. If you were here last week, these are the notes that I showed you for that week. Now, this one is pretty much the old one, and I'm going to be going over the new ones. And Andrew, you're fortunate enough this stream, the founder himself, Frozen Usuk, is in the chat. So if you want to ask him any questions directly that I have not answered, or you may have questions for him directly, you can ask him yourself. Just a little special stream. So really excited that you guys are tuning in as we're going over the week prior's notes. So moving on, player character sheets release. So we wanted to develop two types of character sheets. We had the deluxe version and the standard version. The deluxe version is a version I truly like because it allows for extra writing room and colors and design. Think of it as like the artsy style character sheet. Well, there you go. So, the utilities, the standard version is pretty much a cut down version which kind of focuses on the high points of the character design and character sheet because some people like writing notes for their characters. Just depends on what kind of front you are. Do you like writing notes or do you just want all the papers to contain all the spots you need to write in? It just depends on what you like. I'll probably showcase some of those personally once we finish the developer notes at the end of the last week's development to kind of save time so we can kind of get through everything. So, moving on. Novel development still remains that we're working through 4 through 10 drafting and formatting to kind of get those all ready to show those out, as I like to try to post the newest sections that get formatted on Mondays, and they kind of just shuffle down throughout the way and whatnot. So kind of keep that going. That's still undergoing updates, formatting, and whatnot. So stay tuned for that. And for those who are new, there's this little thing that we like to do on Patreon. It's called Story Tuesday and Lore Drop Friday. So pretty much how my release schedule works for Patreon as far as you guys are concerned is on Mondays I release novel books sections. Tuesday is Story Tuesday, where I release a small portion of a short story that follows within the Pandora's Price universe setting. Wednesdays is kind of just up in the air. I might post something, I might not. Generally, I don't, to kind of give breaks in between so that y'all guys can catch up on content that I release between Sundays, developer notes, Mondays, chapter reads, and then Tuesdays, story time. And then Friday, I drop Lore Friday, which talks about a small portion of the lore within the Pandora's Price universe. Usually I just kind of get with the creator and kind of find out what he wants to talk about in towards the lore and what he wants to release. Future developments. Future development thing is that we're working through how we want to look at further including other aspects like talking about character creation and talking about other things that are not game specific to kind of clarify some talking point topics within the universe. I love the chattiness, so look forward more to that. But capping off last week's moving through, the war game continues development, the TTRPG's market stall is expanding and hoping to getting to completion, the novels continue editing, and the card games preparation as initial card designs will go underway. And that kind of concludes and rounds out week 2's updates, week prior's updates. for those, I've already showed the big reveal that I've reformatted how I want the notes to kind of come out to you guys, added in our personal color for Pandora's Price so that you guys know what they look like. And this is something I'm going to plan on letting them go long term. So let's see here. Got to switch over pages. Here we go, right here. All right, great. So this is how the format and the color layout is going to be long term. And we're going to be talking about pretty much keeping it organized, keeping it streamlined so that you guys can kind of keep seeing the same layout going forward. And plus, who doesn't like color? Color's great. Depending on what tier you subscribe at and what layer you're at, you can obtain more information if you pay for some of the higher subscription tiers. Of course, I may slip up and might let out some stuff that belong to a higher tier. You never know, because like I said, you asked me the question, I'm going to answer it. And I want you guys to walk away with something more than you had last time. A lot of people that are here in the stream have been in the streams from last week's and stuff, so you're gonna probably be anticipating reading this document because this is just what progress we made last week, and everything looks very streamlined and more is closer together. But I will talk a little bit on each section of each of these updates so that you guys can get the most out of it. So let's start with the overview. And actually, let me read real quick here. Make sure I didn't miss anything that was at me, because I didn't know as I'm talking over this to try to keep it going. Let's see. Oh, wow. It looks like the creator has finally figured out how to do the reply. Thanks, Cap. I appreciate it. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best to try to keep this going and not skip anything. I'm kind of glad that that Tyler's here too, so that he can kind of double check me on if I missed something or not. It does help a lot, and interacting in the chat and stuff is pretty great. And again, I really appreciate the subscription and the bits, man. I really do. So let me go ahead and jump into this real quick. And again, if you have questions, just hit me up. And of course, the creator, Tyler at Frozen Usug, is right there in the chat. So if I say something, you have a question, you can throw it right in the chat and he will attack it. I promise you. So, development across the Pandora's Prize universe. We can add it to the priority list first. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Development past the Pandora's universe, it continues steady pace this week, with the strongest movement being within the war game and the TTRPG. Narrative content is also continuing to move forward to help keep the world active while the larger mechanical systems are refined for upcoming testing. So what Zach's talking about in terms of that is that the war game and the TTRPG are soon upcoming to the point where they're going to be going into alpha, and they're going to be broken up into different phases. Phase 1 for both of those is going to be, hey, here's this new cool thing. For the war game front, in terms of testing, will be infantry units only. And basically, so that's going to look like is you're going to get the rulebook, the general mechanics rulebook, and you're going to get infantry specific information, and you're going to pretty much read, upboard it, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and things we could do to improve that system. And maybe you got a friend who also likes war games, and then you could go head to head and see how they work in combat. It's just the infantry units for right now, and hopefully we get a lot of good input and a lot of feedback from that, and moving forward to further develop the system. For the tabletop, on the other hand, we'll be releasing the player scroll as it sits now, because there was some updates within the player scroll, and then bringing out the character sheet, and you guys are going to be going in through the character creation process. Again, like that one, you're going to create a character, you're going to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and things we can do to improve, and that will kind of mark phase 1. Phase 2 will shift into actual playing. Hold on, Nightbot's out of timeout. I'm about to retime out because I do not want it to knock you guys down for let's see here. For anything, let's set timeout, stay in timeout. All right, great. So, sorry about that. Pretty much moving into the alpha phase, hello, welcome to the stream. For those showing up, we're going over our developers notes for the Pandora's franchise. I am the community manager for Pandora's Price universe. I'm just going over the developer notes for the last week's progress. This is a special stream because we have the creator of Pandora's Price himself in the chat. So if you have any questions about it, or you see something you want to have a question about, throw it in the chat. He will attack them and answer them to the best of his ability. So, have at it, enjoy, relax, and if you have any questions, just hit them up, and I will do my best to answer them. Well, we will do our best to answer them. But right now we're talking about the upcoming alpha phase for the war game and and the tabletop. Now, talking back at the tabletop, character creation process, the war game is looking on infantry and the general rule mechanics for the game, which we're just going to be looking for you guys' feedback and giving us valuable data so that we can go over them overall. Hopefully you guys love it a lot. We work really hard on it, bouncing ideas, testing phases multiple times. It's been a long coming point to here, and we're really excited to be able to let you guys try it out. Now, this new thing I'm trying to introduce is giving current overall progress so you guys know where we're coming at in the universe. I'm going to highlight this so you kind of focus on it. So this little thing right here is something that I, again, had to kind of figure out how I wanted to do it. And right here, this is kind of how it looks. This is just a current overall progress of how the universe's pillars sit as of this moment. So if you want to kind of know how far we are from completion, this right here will kind of give you a forecast on that weather. So current overall process is split across the major projects of the Pandora's Prize franchise. Talking first, novel, sitting at about 55%. Now that is up to dispute. I'm here to let you know it's more like 35% in terms like complete. 55% is more like we know how the entire book is supposed to go. Up to this many chapters is definitely done, and with some of the other chapters still sitting through refinement, editing, and formatting. So 55% is being just a overall top-down look, but I'm going to let you know 35% is like a solid done, period. So the war game sitting at 35% in terms of completeness, right? That 35% represents infantry in general rule mechanics book, or for those who are familiar with the BRB in the Warhammer community, pretty much that's what that represents, as that's why we're pushing that into an alpha phase so we can kind of see if the general rule mechanics work pretty good and the infantry units work pretty good. Following right behind that, talking about the TTRPG having the biggest amount of progress because it is pretty much the main focal point of the entire universe, as a lot of the other systems from in Pandora's Prize kind of step out from the TTRPG, sitting at 60%. We are pushing that. That is also going to an alpha phase for character creation process only for phase 1. And it's a 3-phase process. So phase 1, we're only worried about character creation, not to overload you guys, so we can get valuable feedback on that process as well. And the card game, TCG, was revealed not this past week, but the week prior, so you guys can kind of see the idea that it's only at 10%. Pretty much it's just skeletal notes and pretty much a general direction of where we want to go with that. So, and let's jump into the story pipeline. So, on Monday, tomorrow, chapters 6 and 7 of The King of Sand, which is our main novel, will be released tomorrow, Monday at night. So if you are a highest tier subscriber, you will see chapters 6 and 7. Actually, Captain, I've done work on F-18s. That's what I used to work on in the Navy, so it's funny that you asked that question. Of course you know, but looking at see, listen, I can't tell and I can't see. All I know is Captain Jack Sparrow, and he says, "Your boy." Listen, don't. I slept a lot since then, so let me. Oh, I didn't see it. I was too busy looking at the screen, running over nuts. But I'm really glad that you're here, man. I really do appreciate it. Gosh, it's hot in here, but I'm really glad that you showed up, and I'm doing my best, and I appreciate your praise. Like I said, I texted you earlier, I hope everything clears up for you, and that you can, not be super busy all the time, so that you can just play Pandora's Prize with us. No, no, no. No, it's not that Tyler. No, this is another Tyler that is at my current job that I work with. But I'm sure you probably already cleared up that confusion already. This Tyler you're talking to, he's one of my newest coworkers when I went to go work in Elizabeth City. Yes, another Tyler who used to be in the Air Force. Yes. Huh? I know, it's ironic, right? It's crazy. It is crazy. But yes, he's the creator and founder of the Pandora's Price universe. He's the one that got me on board. And, he's the one that sold it to me. So you actually get the opportunity to talk to him in person. I'm actually kind of glad that you are. So that's pretty awesome, man. Um, but this is something I try to do every Sunday, like I told you. So, I don't expect everyone to be here every Sunday, but just so you have that opportunity to be able to, get the from the horse's mouth themselves updates instead of reading them after the fact. I'm here every Sunday to let you know what's up. Oh man, yeah, life seems to love to speed up. Yeah, yeah, I know you're getting your big degree, and I hope you get it. I can't wait to get it. I remember you said you were about to start doing it when you were at Amentum in Oceania. Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna be making sure that anyone that's within the community and stuff that knows about it gets it. If I have to send it to you, literally hand deliver it to you, I will do it. I do not care, Brandon. I will hand deliver it to you just so you can get the game, so you can play both features. If you want to play the war game and the tabletop, I will make sure you get it. Don't worry about that. I already know you're interested. You're in my sights. I know. And now Tyler knows. The Tyler that I know, that you know now, yes, he knows now. He won't let me forget. Yeah, as a career in the universe, yep. The funny thing is, I think I'm gonna low key be the narrator for pretty much everything when it comes to narrating stuff. Unless I can convince Tyler to let me use his voice and clone it with robots, and then he can be another narrator. But you're gonna have to hear my beautiful voice on all the narrations for stuff. Which is, I'm gonna talk about that here in a little bit, so we can kind of explain how that's gonna look. So story pipeline, chapter 6 and 7 will come out to the highest tier subscribers, and we like to do this little washing machine thing where we kind of move everything down the ladder way. Chapter 1 will be falling off tomorrow night upon chapters 6 and 7's release. So everything will be shifting down. Chapters 2 and 3 will go available to everybody. Chapters 4 and 5 will shift down the pipeline to our lowest tier paid subscribers, and chapters 6 and 7 will be available to the highest tier subscriber. So if you exist at one of those levels, you will have something new to look forward to. Peter. Oh yeah, reading foreign narrative. You know what? That is so awesome. Maybe I should make you the narrator for Pandora's Price. Maybe I should make you do it. That way, you seem to have exactly what we're looking for. But that's of course if you're interested. I don't mind doing it, but you seem to be a wizard at it. But hey, the offer is on the table. I said what I said. So, and I will take you up. I will take you up on the training as well. So, if you're willing to, teach, I'm willing to listen and learn. Okay, I totally can. 100%. Yeah, I can send you over some stuff too. Actually, I could send you over a lot of stuff, but I will send you over some stuff for you to train me. We have a lot of scripts that the creator and I have developed and washed out that we want to use. So, as a creator is gasping, I'm gasping in real life because an opportunity has risen and I cannot wait to take advantage of it. Andrew, are you still there? I don't want you to, if you had said something to kind of let it fall to the wayside. So if you have any questions or you want to know something, please go ahead, ask away. Ask away. I don't want to miss your opportunity. So, and then first thing was just to reiterate what he just said. The alpha test will last as long as it's needed to gather the required data. Need some clarification on what you mean by losing progress. Yeah, Andrew, what do you mean by losing progress? How are you losing progress? Let me take a moment before I continue on. Dang, 25 minutes. Holy manoli. Man, that's a long time. Welcome to the stream. If you just showed up, I'm Kelvin Smith. I am the community manager for the Pandora's Prize franchise, and we're currently going over the Week 3's developer notes. So if you have any questions about what you see on screen and you want to go on about, we just kind of got through the overview section. The section you see highlighted right now is the current progress within the franchise. If you have any questions looking onto these, two things to look forward to: the TTRPG and the war games are going to be shifted into the alpha phase for testing, which is for the TTRPG sake, character creation. For the war game sake, it's going to be infantry and the general rules, or for those who are familiar with the war game communities, calls it the BRB, the big rule book. So look forward to more of those. If you have any questions, Andrew, which is like, how some keep it from full drop, some just delete, and I have to fully wait. What is Andrew? What are you talking about? Full drop? What drop? Is it like looking for something specific? What drop are you trying to hold on to so I can kind of get some clarification here, Andrew? What do you mean by full drop some? Just so they have a fully start over. Is this related to a game? Like turn into the stream, watch this game for a certain amount of time type of drop, or oh, maybe Tyler knows what you're talking about, and I'm just too slow on the punch. So let's see. All right, but I'm sure Tyler's on the case. If you could give a little bit more explanation and clarity, Andrew, on that one, so I can kind of get ahead of that. If you did miss something because I might have pushed something the wrong direction, or you might have missed an opportunity at something, and you're just too busy, we can totally send it to you directly, or we can, put it back up for a limited amount of time so that you can get at it. But if it's anything else, please just clarify so we can get on top of that. Story pipeline, just pretty much chapter 6 and 7 and pushing the stories down from there, with chapter 1 falling off tomorrow night so that, we can allow for fresh breathing room for all the new chapters to show up. War game status. For the war game, the infantry rules are now complete. If you remember reading the other one, they were ongoing. Now they're complete officially, and though a small update is still needed to properly integrate rider infantry into the system, ground vehicle rules also have been compiled and are now moving into structural editing, as followed, building on, synergizing with the last set of notes. In addition to that, the new battlefield unit type called the War Beast have been introduced, and expanding the tactical identity of the wargame beyond standard infantry and mechanized forces. So, a lot right there. Look forward to new and improved units coming out into the wargame system. Pretty much what I want you to focus on, though, is that the war game is shifting into alpha phase for infantry units only. So you're pretty much going to get this week, and then sometime next week, hopefully, we will be releasing all the nice payloads for you guys to get into so that you guys can try the war game and the TTRPG, which should be available to everybody. We're not going to hide that behind any paywall. That's going to be free to everyone to try, because we really, at this point, just need any and everyone to try the game. For those who can get us back on, updates the surveys that we'll be attaching with them to kind of tell us, what they liked, what they didn't like, and what we could do better, would be really what we're looking forward to. You being able to play the game and having access to those documents is a bonus for us. We really want the feedback to help us develop develop the rules in the universe to better, accommodate you guys, because the game is for you guys as well, as you guys are the ones building the universe. We're just personifying y'all's vision. Synergizing would be more correct, but moving on to the TTRPG status. For the TTRPG, the Foundry module for bows and crossbows has been completed. So that document pretty much governs the crafting process for crossbows and bows. So as we slowly get to integrate that into the market stall within the player scroll, it's currently being expanded. So what that looks like is that in the market stall, which is a section within the player scroll, it's at the bottom. It pretty much is the market. Let me just call it to make it understand, is the market. And the market in our player scroll is called the market stall, and everything within the market stall has a source document that governs it. It's not just, oh, make this and this will be the price. No, none of that randomness. Everything has a rule. Everything has a process. And oh, it's Dave getting on. What game is he playing? Some game that I never heard of. But pretty much it's everything has a source document to be able to govern how it functions. There's no makeup, there's no randomness to it. So everything in the market stall has a price attached to it, and it has a source on how that item is priced. And that information comes from this other book we call the workshop. The workshop pretty much establishes the baseline and sets everything up. The foundry is just like the walking progress to give you like a step-by-step guide on what's required to make said objects. That's what the update right there is talking about for the bows and crossbows. And then what you see in the market stall is pretty much completed products that you can just purchase at any time. So you have pretty much different layers, different depths at which crafting within Panda Price's TTRPG looks like. You have the I'm just going to show up to the stall and I'm going to buy this item because it's what I need. Then you can move into the I want to make my own item, and what does that look like? The foundry basically gives you here's the minimum requirements that you need. And you just pick up those minimum requirements, and how those look will be totally up to you and what is required, and then boom, bam, pow, you put them together. And then the last layer, the deepest layer, which is the workshop, is pretty much you go out and find the material you want a bow to be made out of, and then you create it how you want it to look. Totally up to you. It's all up to how you want, how the design is that you want. I hope that did answer your question. If it's talking about the test, let's see. Did that answer your question, Andrew? If there's anything I can do, I can pull something up for you to kind of clear up some haziness if there was something that you had read. Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'm so glad that he was able to help you. Thanks, Tyler. I really do appreciate you getting that one for me. I appreciate that. And I'm Grant. Andrew, I hope that was enough clarity for you, man. Really do hope. If there's anything else I can provide you with, please let me know. Moving on to back into TFRG, we updated one of the mechanics called. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. We updated one of the mechanics for carry weight. We pretty much redesigned it how we think it would be more realistic. And let me explain. So, to better make it make sense, let me make it as plain as possible in less words as possible. Carry weight, in a traditional sense, in Dungeons and Dragons, is pretty much this is how much an item weighs, and then you have your character's max capacity of carrying weight, and as long as you don't exceed that carry weight based off the character's carry weight capacity, you can carry it. It didn't matter what it looked like, it didn't matter how it looked like, or where you were carrying it, as long as you weren't over the 50-pound threshold or the 150-pound threshold or whatever the threshold is, you can carry it. And quite frankly, that doesn't make sense entirely. So the creator and I sat down one day and it's like, let's look over carry weight again. Let's make it make more sense. So basically, we came out with I forget the word that we use. I'm not gonna tell any untruths. Tyler, help me out here. What was the word that we used for carry weight? I mean, how bad is US if you're encumbered? Man, let me tell you something. You don't want to be encumbered in Pandora's Price. It started with an R. R, what is it? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you the truth. But pretty much, carry weight is supposed to be more realistic in the sense of what you can actually carry. So, for example, I can explain an example better. So, you end up killing a party. Bunch of enemy units or whatever. You kill off. Yeah, realistic carry. There we go. Min-maxing characters. Okay, so let's talk about characters by min-maxing them. That is going to be interesting. Tyler, you got that one. He's directing that at you, and there's a long explanation to tie on with that. But let me talk about the carry weight thing real quick for realistic carry, and then we'll jump into min-maxing if Tyler kind of gives a brief lowdown on that. You can try. So, carry weight, pretty much realistic carry is going to be, you could be physically strong. You could carry 50 pounds. You can carry 50 pounds. Totally. Anyone can carry 50 pounds. But how do you carry it? So you got 5 battle rifles, you got 15 handguns, and you got 2 ammo crates. Can you realistically carry all of that stuff? Be honest. Can you realistically carry all that stuff? Can you realistically carry 5 battle rifles? Let's just use that. Let's focus on that for a second. How would you carry 5 rifles? Where would you carry them? You know? So realistic carry is pretty much, can you realistic? Yeah, sure, you can be strong, but how are you carrying those items? Are you going to put all 5 of them on your back? Well, that's not very realistic. How? Are you going to, is there ways to enhance my carry weight? Not really. Not with the realistic carry weight thing. It's not a how strong you are. It's how practically can you carry everything. Um, Let me explain it like this. If you have 5 battle rifles and 5 handguns, Andrew, where are you going to carry those items? Where do you plan on carrying them at all? Are you going to carry all 5 battle rifles on your back? Are you going to put some in your pockets? Are you going to put some in your hips? Like, how do you plan on carrying 5 battle rifles and 15 handguns? Sure, you are strong enough to carry all those items as weight. Oh, my Atlanta. How will you carry it? Well, listen here, man. As long as you can carry it in your backpack, you can carry it in your pockets or put it on your utility belt, you can carry it, Brandon. You can carry it however you want. Just beware that if you're off balanced or encumbered in any shape or fashion, you are going to pay for that in the forms of movement and combat. Because if you are off balance by any measure and you try to make a melee attack, you will have to deal with the detriments behind that. So just make sure you put everything equally around your body. And if the weight is so much that you can't physically carry it because like it's 1,000 pounds and you're a human being, can you carry 1,000 pounds reasonably? No. So might have to, leave some of the baggage, at home and come back for it later or something. So, but So, hope that kind of clears up the carry weight thing. Thanks, Tyler, for clarifying on that. Carry weight is, let's be honest, carry weight usually gets scapped first in most, homebrew settings for Dungeons and Dragons type games because who wants to deal with carry weight like that? And it's so janky and so ineffective. It's just better to be like realistic carry. And our character sheets will better reflect that as there will be categories, not carry, within the inventory, there will be columns that talk about where items are equipped, like ready equipped and like secondary equipped. Like you want to draw a pistol, is it quick to draw because it's in a good position, or is it somewhere where you have to like kind of dig out and get to before you can draw it? And that matters in Pandora's Price. If you're not ready to scrap, you are gonna get folded like an omelet. So you have to think about where your items are on your person. If you're a type of person where you're melee dominant, you would probably want to have your weapons readily drawn in an area where you can draw them very quickly when you get into combat because every second counts. If you enter a combat phase and your weapons aren't drawn, that counts against you because if the enemy's weapons are already drawn, you have to spend your turn drawing your weapons. And that could probably kill you. So, more leading on to that. So, going on to the next spot, we kind of had to, we updated some wordage. Oh, yeah, no problem, man. No problem. Anyways, losing a challenge because emotional weight of off balance shoot. Yeah, yep, absolutely. That 100% can happen, Brandon. Getting killed because you're off balance, that's a real death. A real thing to deal with in Pandora's Price. We updated some wordage terminology that we noticed within the player scroll. I can't believe I missed over it. Put the wrong number on the attribute setting as there's 12 attributes, not 11. So that got changed as I noticed it the other day. And I had to literally get with Tyler and count like several different times to realize that it was wrong and that we needed to change it. Don't ask me how we messed it up. It's just like sometimes when you're looking at these documents, they're so freaking long and you just like kind of miss it sometimes. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've made so many characters looking at attributes and not realizing that it was 11 instead of 12, but it's fixed now. So not super flashy updates, but things that needed to happen because they're just things that need to tighten up the system so that it's operating flawlessly whenever we move into alpha. And I'm sure that hopefully you guys find any more things or find things that may need updates or things that you might like. Imagine a better fighting, but then his mind flashes back to his lost child and he hesitates mid-swing and provides his enemy the opportunity to rush him. And that can happen, yes. Yes, you say that, Brandon, and that can happen. That is a mental limitation, as PTSD is a mental limitation. And if you've read the player scroll, it's on there. PTSD, yeah, it does act. It does come in strong sometimes, and it shows up in the worst times. Yes, Andrew. Yes, if you're not ready, like legitimately in real life, if you're doing something and someone shows up and you're not ready, and they get the drop on you, that's an ambush. You're dying. Or say you're going just not paying attention, you're not aware of your surroundings, you could be in a dangerous area and you just don't have your weapons drawn or at the ready. If an enemy shows up with their weapons ready and you enter combat, well, guess what? Guess who's going to get the opportunity to strike you first? They will. They just will. You have to keep yourself readily available. Seconds matter in Pandora's Price. Tyler, if you could explain like how the seconds in combat works, kind of give a better understanding. If you're not ready, you will definitely get folded. You're just gonna get ambushed. Not in the sense of like stealth attack type deal, just like the fact that you caught lacking, so you're about to get folded, type of instance. Yes, emotional weight causing you to be off balance. And yep, it's a mental detriment within the player scroll. So, and on the player scroll, the detriments tables do have associated effects that you have to roll on upon either it sometimes will be either GM has to initiate them or it's something you have to do every so often that you have to keep track of. And those things definitely limit you. Yeah. Yes, my one of my characters limitation was the curse of perfection, and the curse of perfection is, in my opinion, very nasty. It is a double-edged sword. Yes, Andrew, it is like Dark Souls, but more realistic. Think of just real life situations that you have to take account for. Like people, it's not that people treat TTRPGs like video games, lack of better words, but Pandora's Prize you can't treat like a TTRPG. It's realistic in a sense that you have to be always thinking about your actions and what's going on. Oh, you have to think about what's going on. Oh, Nightbot, you get back in timeout. No more. You know now. I gotta keep timing it out because I don't want it to say no things, but so it's realistic in a sense that there's a lot of things that people need to pay attention to that a lot of these other TTRPGs don't put hindsight on it. Like, yes, there's environmental damage in Dungeons and Dragons, but they like make that thing so basic. It's not even compared to Pandora's Price. It's insane. Pandora's Price, you have to pay attention to literally everything. And magic, again, saying that very loosely, oh, you like the challenge? Yes. I can't wait to see you get the opportunity to make your own character and go through the player scroll and kind of see what is in there and kind of look through that stuff. Because if you went to just research the physics, chemistry, and science, yes, like the creator said, I'm going to pin it up there. A lot of research that he did went into physics, chemistry, and science in general. It's just what makes our universe work. Yes, like you said, some disbelief there. You gotta some of the stuff is like, okay, this is not real, but this is how we make it look real. Um, but yes, real life science stuff go into effect, and people kind of take that stuff for granted a little bit, and kind of really put the disbelief on it when it comes to just playing games. Pandora's Price is a nice little wake up call because it's gonna be like, huh, I bet you didn't think about, for example, going back to my previous example for magic, because Pandora's Price doesn't have magic. Pandora's Price has science and physics, and the way that looks like magic is called Torah, which stands for Total Obliteration Reanimation Ability, Reconstruction Ability. There we go. And that is science. And science, what it looks like, depends on how you design it. Um, and for example, say you do Fireball using Torah. That fireball, depending on how big of an explosion that you want it to be, doesn't choose friend from foe. Everybody that's in the area of that attack, including the caster, will get blown up. And you will have to pay the ultimate sacrifice for that. Because damage in Pandora's Price scales exponentially. Exponentially. Like, it is insane. Yes, you can literally blow yourself up. And depending on how you design some spells, there's some spells, if you don't specifically say how you're casting it, for example, if you're casting it at a range and you make the range very short and you just happen to be within the range of the target you're getting blown up, and it's, for example, if you don't even put a range, the spell will be automatically treated as if it's coming out of the said person, and think of it as self-destruct. It's just how it is. You got to pay attention when you're doing things. You got to be aware of your surroundings, because say you cast a spell and you didn't know that there was an explosive hazmat nearby and you blow it up, dead. Say that you're in an environment that has a hazardous explosive chemical in the area, you're dead. You don't specify your actions, the DM or GM can interpret the way they want. Yep. Only the G right there, what you said, Brandon, GM has to know how they want to interpret the way they want. In Pandora's Price, it's not a GM DM thing. It is built into the game from the foundation. So there's no debate. You have to weigh everything based off of the core rules that is found in Pandora's Price. It's, of course, again, you don't have to. It's your table. However you choose to judge it is up to you. But as the rules are designed, the base plate is you will judge everybody's actions equally. If you don't want to do those aspects where people make dumb mistakes and you don't want to rewind the clock, that's up to you. Or if you want to be nice and rewind the clock for some people's first initial mistake, you can. I mean, discounting spells, people's actions, how they talk to people, how they move around people, the environment, how they interact with it, depends very greatly. You have to be lots of outside factors that you have to be mindful of. And damage, like I said, is not like, oh, let me tank that hit. There is no tanking a hit in Pandora's Price if you are not prepared. If you're not prepared, you will die every single time. Prepare to die and die again, and remake characters over and over again is one of the things that we talk about in Pandora's Price. Prepare to die and die again. If you can learn, you can develop good strategies, prepare before you go into counters, gather intel, disarm the enemy as much as you can before you begin the encounter, you will survive. You have to take those things to account. And if you actually take the time to actually do proper intel gathering, disarming the enemy, and limiting their capability, and being prepared to overcome them, you can win. Yes, like the creator said, that's why equipment is so important. Planning and strategy matters in Pandora's Prize. There's no walk-in, kill all the enemies like a level 20 character can in Dungeons and Dragons. None of that will ever happen. None of that will ever happen in Pandora's Prize. You will never be able to walk into an area and just kill everything. You walk in an area thinking that you can kill everything, you will die. You will die. Yes, so if there's a risk of infection, if wounded, yes. Yes, 100%. There is risk of infection, and it can kill you if you do not take care of it, Andrew. There is a risk of infection. And guess what? There's no, magical heal this infection deal. Nope. Oh, yes, and also bleeding. There's no, let me cast healing on a wound or cure wounds. That doesn't exist in Pandora's Price. The individual who wants to do triage on said wounded person, whether they're infected or bleeding out, has to know what they're doing in order to secure the individual from death's door. Now, there is some medical stuff out there in the market that you can purchase, and there is skills that you can develop to be able to help triage people. But if you don't have any of those skills and none of that equipment, you casting a Tor spell will not help you secure that person's, well-being. You could be sitting there, casting, Tor spells to try to help heal somebody, and they can still very die if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Strategy, planning, and equipment, paramount. If you don't have the equipment, and you're not ready to overcome the issues that show up, yep, there you will be hurting. I promise you. If you guys end up having the opportunity in probably a future community event, we talked about being able to have your very own chance to play a game of Pandora's Price with the creators, the developers, which would include myself, Tyler, and then one of our third developers. Her name is Tiffany, but she's not here tonight. You'll have a chance to be able to sit in and play one of our games, and then you'll very well be able to see what it's like firsthand to let someone GM a story, or well, in our case, judge a story for you. But of course, you have the player. You'll have the player scroll. You'll have your own character creation sheets, and then you could take those into your own stories and try them out with other people who may show up to your table, and still give us valuable feedback that way as well. The choice is up to you. It's whatever you want to do. I'm just here to make sure I paint the image for Pandora's Prize as much as I possibly can. So, now, moving on to the current focuses for the overall design. If you're just turning into the stream, we're going over the developer live notes for week 3. These notes can be found on our Patreon page. These ones are free. You don't have to pay for these to see these notes to be able to know what's going on with our universe. I just come on stream on Sundays to go over these notes with people who show up and have questions and want to know more about Pandora's Price. We're currently talking about the upcoming alpha test for the war game and the TTRPG. And people are just asking questions about different mechanics, different elements within the game so that they can kind of better be ready for them. I'm Kelvin Smith. I'm the community manager for Pandora's Price's universe, and we also have the creator and founder, Ferzan Uzek, is in the chat. He's a creator of the universe of Pandora's Price. So if you have questions and you want to know more about it, please ask. And if you don't get all the things you need here, or you want to know more, you can always go to our Patreon page. You can check my about bio, and the link for Patreon will take you to our Patreon page, and you can follow for free. And these notes and various other information is also there for you to be able to watch and read and listen to, as we try to make sure we try to provide some things for free people to be able to check into. So, all right, the card game development's paused this week so that we can focus. Yes, my schools are closed tomorrow for bad weather, but my kids' schools were already off Monday and Tuesday anyways, so it just worked out. Unfortunately for me and Tyler, we're going to work tomorrow, so we'll be able to go. Hopefully they'll let us out early, probably not, and we get to go in the bad weather. Are you guys off from school tomorrow? Are your kids off from school tomorrow, Brandon? Is your daughter going to school tomorrow or no? I don't know how, you guys are way up there. Sometimes you guys get worse weather than we do. We're right next door. No, not yet. Yeah, it's definitely closed down here. 100%. It's supposed to be thunderstorming, pretty much. Yeah, I think it's probably just because it's just close to the water. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. You're just as close to the water, if not closer, than we are. Depending on where you live. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Elizabeth City and Virginia Beach kind of sit in the same biome close to the ocean, so you would figure that it would, but I don't know the weather pattern, nor do I plan to magic ball it either. So, the TTRPG and the war game are being pushed into their alpha tests so that we can get valuable data on those from you guys and the community, which this event will be free to everyone. You don't have to pay for a subscription to be able to participate in the war game and the TTRPG alpha test. It'll be free for all of you guys so that you guys can give us all the good feedback or the you guys suck moments, however you so choose. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, yes, Andrew, monster encounters, yeah, don't let me get that out of your head. Monsters. Yeah, species would be more accurate, as monsters is like too tied to like just non-sentient creatures, whereas in Pandora's Prize, you will be dealing with both sentient and non-sentient species, and both pose both same dangers. Um, Again, planning, equipment, and strategy is three of the things that you want to keep at the forefront of your mind when you're going out into the world of Pandora's Price. Better safe than sorry type aspect. Don't think that you can just show up anywhere and expect anything to get done, and don't think that, oh, this is a simple job will turn out to be simple for you, as anything can happen in every encounter. Um, just something to keep with you right there, bud. The woe of souls that finds themselves unmuted. Yes, I found myself there, and that was great. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about that place, but one day you guys may be able to go to Mirrodin yourself and find out real quick what it's like there. Yes, so as the note says, the first alpha phase for both systems is planned for roughly 2 weeks from now. We're just tightening up some screws, tightening up some bolts, and then we'll be moving on to push those out to you guys. With early testing, focusing on character creation for the TTRPG, like I said, and infantry gameplay systems for the war game. That pretty much is the week's 3's development notes. Of course, don't forget, Story Tuesday, episode 3 for the story of Mirrodin comes out. Tomorrow, the new chapters for The King of Sand will be released to my highest paid subscribers. Friday, Lore Friday, we'll be talking about more things that were said within the intro video. If y'all guys saw the intro to Pandora's Price, we try to cover some of those topics in a little bit more detail so you can get you guys a little clarity and whatever else that we add into there. We also do plan on bringing some other podcasts outside of those to kind of help you guys clarify stuff. Like we're gonna do some podcasts for character creations and each individual topic that's covered within it. May talk about some other mechanics within either the war game, whether it be TTRPG, novel topics, the short stories, or the card game, to kind of give you guys a good feel of what's going on. So you can hear both of our beautiful voices. I know right now you're hearing my beautiful voice, but if you listen to some of the podcasts, you get to hear the founder and creator's beautiful voice as well, as I pretty much kind of ask him questions and kind of get a lot of information for you guys out there so you can hear from the horse's mouth. He's the one that created everything, and he knows how the engine runs. I just know how to maintain it. I know how to, make some pieces to put on the engine, but I try not to break too many things while I'm at it. I do my best to try not to break things, but the creator does have a tendency to be like, give me a couple head bonks to, hey, you're breaking my stuff. So, but next thing, let me pull up the newly a donkey instead of a horse. Wow. All right. Let me scoop up. I did say I was going to show you guys the new character sheets that we're going to be coming out, so that you guys can see. All right. So I'm going to pull up which one is this? Is this the Fancy Nancy one? I don't know. Let's open it. I'm going to show you whichever this one pops up. If it pops up, I don't know. Dang. Did I uninstall thing on this? Forget it. Let's open up on Google Chrome. Yeah. I'm going to slide this over. What is this? What is this? Yep, this is the Fancy Dancy one. All right, here, let me bring this over here. Got it. All right. So this is our Fancy Dancy character sheet right here. This is one of the two. So this is the fancy one, all nice, pretty colorful and designed. This one has like 1 trillion pages added onto it so that you guys can fill out information. But this kind of gives you pretty much a good structure of how characters will be filled out. This one, has a category for everything. Of course, we do have some podcasts that will cover pretty much all the stuff they see on the character sheet. So do not worry, those podcasts will be coming out this week. I just have to literally find out how to become an audio wizard, which I did, and clean those audios up and push them out so that you guys can get more informational details on each one of these categories. But we can go over the real quick identity, pretty names, species, because we don't do races in Pandora's Prize, we do species, the home world in which you're which your character comes from or species comes from, the gravity rating, your age, height, and weight, as all those factors matter for your character. You may think that, why do we need to know about height and weight? Well, let me tell you, it does matter. As a lot of those, just to give an example, and this is, Tyler's favorite example, and I'm going to rob him of his favorite example because it's a very good example to talk about height and weight. For example, you're a species from a gravity level 6 world. And on a gravity level 6 world, human, we'll just say you're human, your bone structure, your muscle density, everything about your character is built to withstand the gravity forces of 6 times that of Earth's. Because Grav 1 is pretty much Earth gravity going up, well, if I may, yeah, Grav 1 is Earth gravity ranging up all the way to 6. So with that, if you're a Grav 6, your character, who y'all have a great night. Yeah, man, you take care, man. Put my best foot forward to provide you solid, good narration. Hell, absolutely, Brandon. I really do appreciate it, man. You take a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate you, man. You have a good night. Thanks for dropping in for the stream. But this is the character sheet, and I'm talking about my example. Height, your weight does matter. If you're come from a higher gravity rating, your weight there may be nominal because everything is built around higher gravity level. But if you go to a gravity level 1 world, which that has its own detriments as well, but just going with the weight, the stuff there is built for gravity level 1. So for the humans that are on a gravity level 1 world, everything's accommodated for. But you coming from a Grav 6 world, yeah, I'll text you later, man. I really do appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks for turning in. You coming from a Grav 6 world, going to a Grav 1, you trying to cross that bridge too, wouldn't work because you're just way too heavy for a gravity level 1 bridge. Thus, having to pay attention to factors like that. Height, if you're too tall to go into an entrance or an exit, you're going to have to be mindful of that as well. As, another thing that people don't pay attention to, if you're taller than the target that you're trying to hit, it's going to be a little bit hard for you to make an attack on a target that's shorter than you. And then the target that's shorter than you, they may get opportunities to attack on you on your lower section because you're just too tall to get them. And they may whiz around you like a dart, like a little bee, zing, zing, zing. Of course, you being larger, you do have a damage advantage on them, but that's if you can hit them. So here's our attributes, broken up into 4 groups. If you read the player scroll, you'll get more on each one of these in the attributes section and throughout the character creation process. Moving on to the next page, here you go. You have trackers, HP, fatigue, sanity max, movement, experience. These are all factors in the game that you're going to have to pay attention to. Quick reference list. You got your abilities, you have traits, and then you have limitations. Now, this section, it may look small, but there's an extra page behind it to give you more writing room, to add on more information, because these sections do get filled very fast. Moving on to the body and limb tracker, which matters. You got head armor, you got arms armor, left and right, torso armor, leg armor, right leg armor, because targeting individual limbs in Pandora's Price is a real thing. If I want to aim for your head to get a headshot, of course, I'm going to have to roll the appropriate rolls for that because, it's a harder target to hit, but I have to overcome the armor that is on your head. Same thing that applies to each individual limb. And depending on how much damage I do to that body part, I can take it off altogether, which has its own detriments to you as the individual who's getting an arm chopped off. Or the headshot, which is an instant kill anyway, so you wouldn't have to really matter. Unless, depending on what species you are, headshots don't mean instant death. They just mean other things, such as the Draelith. Killing the Draelith outright is kind of hard because they're a colony species. But, you can read more on the Draelith in the player's scroll. Combat loadout, kind of, armor, you got your weapons, and, tech level for your weapons, tech level for your armor, because tech level is another feature in the game. Oh, yeah, like he said, crits on crits. Crits compound exponentially depending on what's going on. Tech level, again, like I said, where it has a podcast is covering over these different topics. That way you can get further understanding. And of course, all these things can be found on the player scroll as well so that you can, enjoy them in all their lovely glory. And then, of course, if you have more questions about stuff that's talked about here on the player scroll or within the player character sheet, hit us up on social media. Hit us on Patreon, as I like to leave comments on. You can hit us up on our Discord, or you can email us. It just depends on how you want to do. But if you want to find your way to our Patreon page, you can go into my Twitch's About page, and you can click on the Patreon link, which will take you to our Patreon page. Inventory, currencies, script, and runes. Script is the smaller currency, runes is the larger currency. So, 1,000 script makes you 1 rune, so that, and then your inventory sheet. As earlier, if you were here earlier in the stream, right there, readiness category. You have to know that particular item, where it's at. Is its item in your backpack? Is it on your waist? Is it on your back? Is it in your hand? Just kind of annotate where is it at on your body to let you know if it's ready or not whenever a certain situation happens, whether it be a combat phase or you have to make a quick draw for something to take something out because the environment is happening around you all the time. More on that. Basic skills. Basic skill sheet has, then you got your primary skills and then your advanced skills. There's a whole lot related to those 3 things, and there's a podcast that covers those things broken up so that you can get a better advantage. But if you notice by how many columns that are there, you develop those really fast. And here's a continued page for those. In the player scroll, if you've gone through the player scroll, you'll find the tabs that talk about skills, basic skills, and advanced skills during the character creation process. And you will see those, and you'll see why you want to have this many lines to be able to do stuff. Then you have your background, which background for me personally, when it comes to backgrounds, I like writing down the information contained for my character's background. A lot of the information that's in the background in the player scroll gets transcribed in other places throughout the character sheet, but I like writing down high notes for which background pass that I pick. When you get the chance to open up the player scroll, this page will make more sense, and I think there's a backup page. No, there's not. You'll see why you want to have this little thing if you like taking notes, and then if you just want to add on a piece of paper to write more notes, you can. Now, Torah. Equations. That's a big thing to talk about, but not to diverge too far path. Like I said, Pandora's Prize does not have magic. It has this thing called Torah, which is science. Literally, it's science manipulating physics and the material plane all the way down to the quantum level. So pretty much, it's not like making something out of nothing like magic does. It's literally manipulating things at a quantum level to make them happen. Because I don't know if you guys are really familiar. I'm not. Tyler is. Quantum physics. Because at a quantum level, everything exists. So if you can manipulate things at a quantum level, you can make things appear from wherever, however you want them to look. And pretty much Torah is basically accessing things at a quantum level, and these equations are designed in such a way that way you can manipulate those things at a quantum level, and you could do anything, of course, within the framework of Torah, of course, because fatigue is a big factor in Pandora's Prize when it comes to Torah, or really anything, actually, because if you get too tired and you reach a certain threshold, you start to lose capabilities. Like you being tired is the least of your worries. If your fatigue meter gets too high, you're gonna have to worry about detriments stacking on because you're not taking the appropriate times to rest. And if your fatigue meter gets all the way full, you die of exhaustion. Game over, make a new character. So when it comes to using Torah equations, on top of having to do regular skill checks, on top of having to do certain actions, on top of doing everything else in the game, doing Torah is more of like it's a utility purpose, not a primary, I'm a wizard, so I'm going to use Torah. No. Again, magic does not exist in Pandora's Prize. Torah, total obliteration, reconstruction ability, literally is just the ability to manipulate things at a quantum level to be able to achieve a function. Yes, Andrew, you can die of being tired in Pandora's Prize. If you are too tired, that's in real life too. If you don't get enough sleep and you get to a certain point where your brain just shuts off, you're dead. You're just dead. That's it. That's real life things. Like if you're too tired to function, you are just dead. Outright. Just outright dead. Yes, their ability to take to reduce Torah, but again, if you don't manage that stuff correctly, you still will die. It's not a permanent fix. It kind of mitigates it, but it's not designed to, fix all your problems. You still have to manage Torah, manage your fatigue throughout the gameplay. And then we provided a couple of little sections because you're going to need quite a few. And this covers the deluxe version of the character sheet. I love it because it's just cut and nice. Let me go ahead and open up the other one, the standard version, which is pretty much the I like taking notes version. And we'll throw that up there real quick. There we go. So now you can kind of see, basically you just saw the deluxe version, now you're just seeing the plain Jane black and white, no color, just straight to the point. This is for people who like writing notes down on a piece of paper, like in a notebook or something, and they don't need all that extra paper package for the other one. They just want it, boom, right here, and that's all I need. This one's like 5 pages, whereas the other one was like 13. And this is just quick and easy. Boom, 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 done. Moving down to the next page, look, armor, combat loadout, done. Limb tracker, done. Basic skills, primary skills, advanced skills, done. You know, abilities, traits, limitations, equation, two spots right there. Background, and that's it. That is all the standard sheet has. Compared to the other one, which is 13 pages, this one is only 5, and everything's kind of condensed down because it's just for those people who love writing notes. So if you're a note taker and you want to write everything down, you can use this character sheet as a just quick little hind view. And the way they're designed is that when one is face down, the other one's facing up. It matches the kind of stuff you need. For example, let's talk about, here's the top of the first page. And then, you flip it over to the second page, you have your combat loadout and your armory, and on the third page, you have your limb tracker, which kind of those synergize together, you know? Then if you have the backside of this page, your skills page, you can kind of flip between those, and then you have your ability, limitation, equations page right behind that on the 5th page. So they kind of synergize together, and the deluxe version of the character sheet also follows the same synergy to kind of keep everything streamlined and, nice for you to be able to keep track of everything in one group. Let me close that out. What else? There was something else that I wanted to see here. Let's see. Actually, better yet, what is this? What is that? Oh yeah, that was the base template for the character sheet for the deluxe version. But yeah. So with that, that concludes this week's developer stream for week 3 for Pandora's Price. Again, if you missed it here on the stream, I try to put this up on my TikTok. I try to put it up on our YouTube page, and I did try to put it on Patreon, but Patreon has this little weird gimmicky ding where like these long videos are not so friendly, so I'm trying to chop them down. And like I said, the podcasts are designed to help cover those points that are missing or you may have questions on. And again, you can hit us up on social media, email us, whatever you do. Do weapons degrade over time? Yes, depending on how badly you treat them, if you don't keep upkeep with them, they will break and become destroyed. You have to make sure that you keep up with your weapons. Yes, that's a real factor. Maintenance on equipment is a thing. Now, some things don't need the maintenance, it's just they're done. But other things like, your weapons, you do have to make sure that, depending on how harshly you treat them, they will degrade. And you do want to keep regular maintenance on them, to answer your question, Andrew. Yes, like I was saying, this brings us to the end of our live stream. Usually at the end of this, I try to, spark up the hype and the hope and try to make sure I keep everything going. And then I try to clear up the last little bit of questions that we may have, that people may have before we close out the stream. So as traditional, take a few moments to answer you guys' questions. Of course, today is very special. We have the creator in our stream today. So when those questions fly across the table, he will be right there to pounce on them. So, allow him the opportunity to hear your questions and pleads and whatnot, and just enjoy each other's company. I mean, this is us. This is Pandora's Prize. This is it. This is who will be the ones that you reach out to, you know. So I'm excited. Let's see here. I always like to, during this moment, I like to, yeah, you're the crazy one. I like to, you know me, I love to do the slideshow thing. So, you know, I love bringing this up. So, this is the moment in time that you can guys secure Andrew. Just pointing this at you because I think it's just really you. Tyler, if you want to take some moments to say some words to the stream, you're more than welcome to. Truthfully, you're talking to Andrew, but hey, some people may look at the stream after the fact and go, "Oh wow!" But hey, Andrew, um, whatever questions you may have, please, by all means, you have the creator of Pandora's Prize pretty much to yourself. So you can ask away whatever questions you want. I usually leave the floor open at this point. And just like I did last time, the floor was open. So take your opportunity to ask him those questions. Send them away. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yep. All right, let's see here. All right. Oh wow. So again, these are a lot of concept images that were AI generated off of the descriptions and stuff in the lore that's found within our universe. We didn't make these aren't just randomly generated. We literally went in, gave it the descriptions, how they look and how they're designed, and this is the images in which they were generated. We wanted you guys to be able to see and envision exactly what it is we're trying to describe and narrate within the universe so you guys can get a better look. A lot of this stuff is just certain places within Pandora's Prize. It's not one specific location. It's across the entire universe of Pandora's Prize. You do see a lot of locations that kind of synergize with each other because we want to showcase, you know, player scroll stuff. We want to showcase, you know, season one things for the campaigns, as a lot of it is kind of focused, and we want to showcase a lot of creatures within the universe that you will see initially in Pandora's Prize. You know, so homeworlds, there's billions of homeworlds within the Pandora's Prize. Yep. So, you know, take this time to, floor is open for you guys to chit chat about, ask your questions. I'll make sure to answer them. And if I can't answer them, I'm sure Tyler will answer them for you as we try to make sure that we keep everything open. So, hey, you know, we're doing our best here. And if you're really excited for everything that's coming out, please make sure you follow us on Patreon so that you can be there whenever everything pops up, you know? Don't want you guys to miss chances and opportunities, as everything will be coming out real soon. Real soon. So again, join us on Discord so that you can have an opportunity to be able to stay super tight within the community. Again, if you're on Patreon, second you follow our page, and if your Discord is linked up to your Patreon account, it will automatically push you into our Patreon page, or sorry, Discord page, and assign you within the right group so that you can be able to chit chat and hang out and stuff. And we have an email, so if you don't want to be on Discord and you don't want to be on our Patreon, you can email us directly and talk to us that way. We're also on TikTok, and we're also on YouTube as well. Pandora's Price. And if you want to go there and look at stuff, you're more than welcome to. I try to, whenever I kind of get here, try to end up on YouTube, and I try to put small things on, TikTok, because TikTok is kind of interesting. Still trying to figure out how that all washes out, but do not worry about it. I try my best. Yes, the email link is Pandora's Price TTRPG at gmail.com. Twitch won't, let that shit come out like that, so I'll make sure to get that for you. So it's at Gmail on that one right there. If you want to contact us directly through Gmail. Again, look on our Patreon page. All of our contact information is right there so that you can get access to it. So, with all that, it was a wonderful time. Oh yeah, you got some more ads? Yeah, I know. Sorry, my bad. But we're coming to an end of another fantastic 3-week cycle. As week 3 development notes is released, go on our Patreon page if you want to get the lowdown what's going on, and if you want to know more, you want to have that super awesome sneak peek level type detail. Think about upgrading to a higher subscription tier. You don't have to; it's optional. But hey, if you always want to have more, you're always welcome to try to get more. But if there is no other questions for me, no other questions for Tyler, you guys have a fantastic night. If you do have questions, just hit us up. You know, I will make sure that your words, your concerns are addressed. You guys have a good night.